Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 810, written by DT, the most powerful rod in the universe. For some background, my best friend Jay and I lived together for about 3 or 4 years maybe. We're basically brothers and have lived across the street from each other since we were born. We joke around a lot, talk smack, prank each other, but there are times that we are serious and we never lie to each other outside of jokes and pranks. This was definitely not a prank or a joke because it would make no sense and wouldn't be funny, and to be honest would be quite difficult to pull off for no payoff. So, we're living in a typical suburban house in California, north of the Bay Area. Nothing strange about the house or the area. I have the master, and he lives in the front room of the house, which means he uses the guest bathroom and has to walk to it from his room. It's a mid-morning weekend, and he's getting ready to head to his shop, and I'm walking out of my room, meandering down the hallway towards his bathroom, about 20 feet, and we're just talking while he's putting his shoes on. He goes to put his left shoe on, but has to hang on to something because he has a big gut. He reaches up with his left hand and grabs a towel rod, cheap metal pole, and is trying to put his left shoe on, leaning forward. He yanks too hard on the pole a few times and his left shoulder hits the edge of the open door and falls to the ground. I don't remember if I heard the pole hit the ground or anything like that. I was focused on him, and he was just half yelling and moaning, "Aw, damn dude, what the hell, piece of crap towel rack, this house sucks," etc. He slowly picks himself up off the floor, and after I get done laughing and making fun of him, he's looking around for the towel rod that he yanked off the wall, and I see him slowly getting more and more confused every few seconds. Finally, I ask him if he's going to fix it, and he says, "Yeah, dude, but I don't know where the rod is." I'm kind of in disbelief at how stupid he is, and I say, "It's behind the door, man, what the hell are you talking about?" Mind you, I was watching him the whole time. All he did was get up between his fall and his search. He invites me to look, and it's a tiny bathroom with nothing in it. He basically treated the house like a hotel, so all he had was a towel and a toothbrush, plus other minor things in the cabinets. I take a look, and all I see is the floor vent behind the door and nothing else. The rod was gone, vanished. There were no cracks, no holes. I tried to lift the vent cover up, but it was sealed to the flooring, and the duct was too small and turned too soon for a rod to fall in. Still, he opened the cabinets, looked in the tub, checked places that made no sense simply because what had just occurred made no sense. Like normal people, we just shrugged it off and chucked it up as being one of those times when you drop a small screw or something and you just never find it again, or it turns up in the vacuum. But I still think about it to this day and cannot explain what happened to this 3-foot metal rod that seemed to have just stopped existing. I feel it's important for the listeners to understand how impossible it would have been for this thing to just disappear. Not to mention, I experienced it with my buddy, so I know I'm not crazy. As a side note, we weren't under any influences, no drugs, no alcohol, not tired. I've had similar experiences before. Objects as large as a key or pencil falling into wood laminate flooring in empty rooms with nowhere to go, bouncing just out of sight, hearing them settle, and then never finding them again. Case notes for file 810. The most powerful rod in the universe. You know, my guess is it phased through dimensions, and I don't think this was some entity. I think it was a universe glitching out. I think there's a strong possibility that when things go missing, where you hear them bouncing on the floor, or you presume that's where they end up because of physics, they may have just phased through the floor. I imagine if you opened up that floor, looked under it, maybe under the house, you'd find the rod. And this is just because I think gravity is a universal constant in terms of forces. It's not really a force, it's the warping of space-time towards an object of mass or high energy. So if you think of it like that, it transcends dimensions. If there's space-time, then there's gravity. This doesn't entirely explain how it happens, why in specific areas for specific objects. Maybe the universe really is just glitching out. It doesn't have enough server capacity. Creepy file number 56, written by Glum Calendar 6755. The Cabin of Mortis. My friend, 25 female, from college, told me a harrowing story that happened to her and her friends in high school. She is from Buffalo, New York, and often went on camping trips to local upstate campgrounds. When she was a senior, she and 4 of her friends went to a campsite fitted with rows of cabins on the water that people could rent. As the sun went down, the girls noticed that their neighbors, a few cabins down, a group of guys similar in age, were playing music and grooving around the campfire, drinking beers. One of the guys asked them all if they wanted to join. When they got over there and started hanging with the guys, everything seemed completely normal and they were having a fun time. As the night progressed, one of the guys there started to get blackout drunk and eventually pulled out a revolver that he said belonged to his dad. He started waving it around and playing with it. This, obviously, freaked everyone out, his own friends included. Eventually, he started pointing the gun to his head and laughing while his friends were yelling at him to put it away and how that wasn't funny. The girls at this point were fairly disturbed and told the guys that they should get back to their cabin and said their goodbyes. When they got back to their cabin, they all talked about how freaky that was and expressed concern for the drunk guy. They then moved on to other topics of conversation and forgot about it for the time being. A few hours later, sometime in the middle of the night, they heard a loud bang coming from the direction of their neighbor's cabin. Shortly after this, a brigade of cop cars showed up to the scene. One officer came to my friend's cabin and started asking them questions about the cabin they visited earlier that night. When my friend asked the officer what happened, he explained that the kid had ended his existence in front of his friends. They weren't able to discern if it was accidental or otherwise. My friend to this day still has post-traumatic stress disorder over this incident and explained that she rarely ever goes camping anymore. Case notes for the creepy file number 56, The Cabin of Mortis. So I chalk this up for me personally as another example of why I don't drink alcohol. I don't want to lose my faculties, my governing centers. They say that when you drink alcohol, the true you comes out. And for me, that's fine. I did have 1 shot of Goldschlager a long time ago, and all I did was just laugh a lot, so apparently I like to laugh. But it still reduces your inhibitions and control centers. Drinking alcohol when you're gambling, for instance. There's a reason there's a lot of alcohol in casinos. Plus, I also hate the taste. It was smart of your friend, though, to get you out. Seeing the signs and where they're pointing. I guess they're pretty big signs, though. Bright neon. Danger. Crazy. Run. It is sad for him, though. He didn't end up hurting anyone else, just himself. Maybe he was internally very sad. Creepy file number 57, written by Illustrious Map 5605, The Creepiest of Coffee Runs. My boyfriend and I were out of town visiting some friends and spent all day out with them. On our way back home, we stopped by a gas station close to midnight. While my boyfriend was filling gas, we were still about an hour away from home, so I offered to get I don't mind coffee. He just said no, but I ignored and offered anyway. Going into the store, I walked over to the coffee counter, and when I pulled out a cup from the stacks, I turned to grab some creamer and scrolled through my phone when my cup was knocked over. I simply just bent down to pick it up before I heard an iPhone camera go off. I froze for a second before getting up and turned to find some guy in a camp hoodie. I swore I was by the coffee counter by myself, but I was pretty busy with my phone too. For reference, I'm a pretty small girl, 5'1", with a kid face, if I don't have my makeup on. And this man was probably 6'2", looked to be either homeless or an addict. Hey kid, it's pretty late, huh? Mom forgot she left you behind? Don't worry, I got a large pickup and I can take you home. The store was empty besides us, even the clerk was in the back, and I'm guessing the man thought I was alone because the gas pumps are places outside where it's not able to be seen out the door. He literally reached for my face, and I started to have flashbacks to when I was a kid. Another story for another time. I felt his dry hands touch my chin, and instantly fight or flight kicked in. I don't know why, but I kicked the man in the leg as it did nothing. Before I ran out of the station, I had to crouch down to let myself puke. I used my sleeve to clean off my mouth before I limped back to my boyfriend, who saw me hugging my stomach and ran up to me. He knows me too well as my history, and suspected I was a victim. He took me into his car and told me to wait, but I bursted into tears and just begged him to go home. Thankfully, he listened and we headed back. I told him what happened and he was upset that I went inside when he said no, but I was able to relax. I still felt so uneasy because even though I'm an adult, I felt like a kid in front of that man, and I really had no idea why I didn't move till I did. Case notes for the creepy file number 57, the creepiest of coffee runs. So I just want to say, don't blame yourself. Everyone reacts differently where there's situations of extreme danger or potential danger. Fight or flight, but there's also freezing. A lot of people just freeze up, and it's not your fault. It's entirely normal. We're not built to deal with encounters like that. It's messed up. It's not your fault at all. And it doesn't make you any less of an adult. I do find it funny though, you just kicked him in the leg and bolted. Maybe aim for between the legs next time? That'll be more effective. Hopefully there is no next time though.